With the launch of every second Fortnite season, there was always something to look forward to. Whether that be the introduction of a standardized battle pass in Chapter 1, or the introduction of bosses and mythic weapons in Chapter 2. The entrance of Zero Build in Chapter 3, which I have to say is probably the reason why Fortnite is still as popular as it is, as a lot of people were growing tired of fighting super sweats that just crank 90
Fort Squidward is now all but impenetrable!
Or even something like the mid-game objectives or mechanics from Chapter 4, like the Blue Island. So, when Chapter 5 Season 1 finally came to a close...
Yo! Ah!
We got a #1 victory royale, yeah, Fortnite, we bout to get down.
The Greek gods had finally invaded the Fortnite island. However, I think Zeus lost his passport or something. There was a 17-hour downtime, which was the longest in Fortnite history. Of course, if you're excluding things like the black hole...
What the fuck happened to Fortnite?
Because those were purposeful downtimes. Those were what I think the community calls nighty-night times for Fortnite. This was not meant to be 17 hours long, and I find it really funny. I figured I should start with that. Though, with that out of the way, welcome back everybody! Today, I'm going to be taking a look at all of Chapter 5 Season 2. And, much like last time with Underground, we're going to be covering the map, loot pool, and the new mechanics. So with that being said, I think it's time that we go ahead and take a look at... This season thankfully brought a lot of variety to the map, adding 2 new biomes that we never saw before in any Fortnite chapter. The Underworld was the first, replacing the boring plains that ruled the top left of the map, filled with all things dead, colored with blacks, grays, and beautiful turquoise water. The art design here really popped, especially for being a place for the dead. It looked incredible, and it's probably my favorite biome in all of Chapter 5. Actually, scratch that, it is my favorite biome in all of Chapter 5. And I'd even go as far to say as it's one of the best biomes in Fortnite's history. Something about its design always reminded me of those earlier chapter layouts. Also, a new mechanic that we're going to talk about later helped the Underworld be a really fun area to drop at, even after its introduction in Season 2, especially when compared to the second biome, Olympus, which, unfortunately, it suffers from the same issue as most of the Chapter 5 map, with many of the colors feeling muted and lacking personality, just like last season. I don't want to mention it a lot, but take a look at Chapter 4, and specifically its medieval biome. Both of these biomes, Olympus and the medieval biome, mainly used oranges to fill the area. But where the medieval biome is both beautiful and colorful, and I didn't put this part in the script, but is so saturated, like I mentioned last time, it's like you're playing a literal art piece, like Da Vinci cooked with this shit. Olympus feels a lot more washed out and lifeless. Though, I have to say that the new POIs introduced are very interesting. I mentioned this before, but Epic had a habit of making POIs that were just one large building and a couple of smaller areas around for scraps of loot. Think your Grand Glacier, Lavish Lair. Hell, you could even kind of put Fencing Fields and Rebel's Roost into that category. Though I think this season had a nice variety in its POIs. It didn't just have big building or like area with a bunch of houses. Though, I can't go around saying how amazing Season 2 was without mentioning its flaws. Mainly Grim Gates, and that mechanic that I'm going to talk about later really got on my nerves. I know it's either you hate it or you love it thing, but whenever fighting there, I wanted to throw my fucking keyboard out my window and just quit Fortnite. But the Underworld was that POI with the big building and smaller areas beneath to fight for loot. Not my favorite in terms of layout, though I have to say it definitely does the layout in like that template for POIs the best. I don't think there's any other POI that I can think of that does it as well as the Underworld. Because even then, when you land in the lower area, that mechanic I mentioned before can help you take the advantage and can help you, loot a little bit faster. So sure, maybe the guy in the top building is going to get more loot, but if you're lucky, nobody landed with you, you can loot around the smaller areas much quicker.
Wanna see me run to that mountain and back? You wanna see me do it again?
Possibly giving you a better chance in the fight. And again, the art design was great. I really can't mention it enough. I love the Underworld and I'm gonna miss it a lot. By the time this video is going up, I know that the Underworld's gone and we're most likely never gonna see anything like it again. Because I can imagine Epic is gonna kinda wanna just erase Chapter 5. Which is really sad because there are some really cool things in this chapter that I think could really stick around. But that's a kind of tangent for the final video in this series. Anyways, next up is Brawler's Battleground, and this place just kind of confused me. It's meant to be, well, a battleground. Though 80% of this place is just kind of buildings with one small area in the middle, I feel like making this more like a POI that's introduced next season would have made much more sense. But that's all I really want to say about it for now. I think it's a good enough POI. I actually dropped there a lot, and I think it's fun. Next up, though, and our last POI, is Mount Olympus, the mystical land of the gods. And honestly, it's great. I'm not even gonna pull punches or anything. It's the best of the 4 new POIs. The design is exactly what I pictured this mystical mountain would have looked like back in the day of Athens and Rome. Thanks to actually making each building feel important as well, it didn't get caught in that hole that the underworld fell into, which is a blessing because if it did, I ain't giving out any bonus points. Though, the map changes were pretty good all around. I really enjoyed the new biome, well, the underworld at least. Olympus was more iffy, though mostly the POIs were good. Again, I think the underworld did the template of big building, small area for loot the best. I think Brawler's Battleground could have been better, though again, it was a pretty alright POI, and having that one from the next season in now, it's fine. It still kinda sucks, but whatever. And I think Mount Olympus is great. Grim Gates can go jump off a bridge and I never would want to look at it again. But I still like the mechanic there, so it's a 50-50 on Grim Gates. I don't know, I'm not a big fan. But unfortunately, the same cannot be said for... Hey everybody, really quickly before we start going, just wanted to say if you're enjoying the video so far, I'm really happy you are. And if you could like, comment, subscribe, maybe even, let me know what you think about this season, After this video is all said and done, I would love to hear your opinions, and if you want to support me in the Fortnite item shop, please consider using code LandonDoesStuff, that's all caps, all one word, in the Fortnite item shop. And not only that, but we also have a little membership thing. If you join, I believe there's a couple tiers, but some will give you access to early videos, some exclusive community posts, a special role in my Discord server. But I just wanted to say all that before we kept going. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, and I can't wait to talk about... Hey there everybody, I just want to say that I ended up throwing a couple of my own suggestions on what they could have done instead to fix or rearrange the loot pool to make more sense with the season's theme. So when we get to that point, I would love if you gave me your thoughts on it as a whole, because I think that they could work. I think that these changes would help improve this season as a whole. And again, I think it's a misstep of a season, which is really sad, but why don't we get started? And I think it's fair to say that I was super hyped when the season first launched. Sure, we may have gotten the basic new rifle, scary shotgun in Fortnite history, some basic SMG. That stuff didn't catch my attention.
Don't care. Don't care. Still don't care. I don't care.
However, the Wings of Icarus and the Thunderbolt of Zeus caught my attention. They gave me hope that we were going to get that wackier vibe of Fortnite for the whole season. And sure, maybe these weapons were a little bit overtuned, but of course, Epic knows that they can balance weapons and make the Thunderbolt of Zeus a bit weaker. The wings were actually really well balanced, surprisingly, allowing you to fly, because they made your hitbox bigger so it was easier to hit you out of the sky. It made so bullet travel wasn't as annoying when it came to hitting anyone trying to fly away. And imagine what it would have been like if every single update we would have saw some new weapon based on Greek gods. And as the first update came, it looked like that was the case, as we got the Chains of Hades.
I thought you couldn't understand me!
And I feel like it's important to say that the Huntress DMR, I'm pretty sure, is meant to be for Aphrodite. I should have mentioned that earlier, but I think that's important to say that it was still cool to see a normal weapon based around one of the gods. And I was super excited to see what was next. But then we just got projectile-based versions of the drum gun, which, granted, made sense thanks to the return of Midas.
Damn, Midas smacked that shit!
And, he's from Greek mythology, so it made sense that when he came back, his drum gun came with him. But we also did see the hand cannon and tactical assault rifle. This felt lazy and out of place, especially for a season based around Greece's history. Like, why the fuck are these two modern-ass weapons in a season about ancient Greece? All Epic had done was just remodel these weapons to fit into Chapter 5's more realistic aesthetics and allow you to mod them. Wouldn't it have made a lot more sense to see weapons like the 6-shooter, crossbow, and hunting rifle return instead, introducing less advanced weapons in a season all about an ancient part of history? Of course, I could go on listing a ton of other weapons, stuff like the revolver, the flintlock pistol. We could even see something like a prehistoric double-barrel shotgun. And maybe even seeing more melee weapons. Imagine if we saw a spear for Ares. And it's sad to say that we didn't get to see anything like that. I think it would have been a really fun way to mess up the meta, really throw it for a loop, make Fortnite feel super different, but of course keeping some basic weapons, so if people want to just play normal Fortnite, They can, and it's not gonna be like these new Greek weapons are super overpowered, or these old kind of aesthetics. They're not gonna like overpower old weapons from season 1. But even without the fumble that was these unvaults, I can't deny, Epic did a great job in terms of balancing previous nightmares. I gave them a lot of shit last season, but both the Frenzy Auto and Reaper finally got sent to the Shadow Realm after the crazy stunts they were pulling last season. Great job, Epic. I hope that you keep going on this pace, because from what I can tell, you've done a great job in terms of balancing so far. What the fuck is that thing?
Shut the fuck up. Know your fucking place, trash.
Yeah, folks, with the launch of a new season, a new problem surfaced. The Gatekeeper Shotgun. Oh, looks like someone just went ahead and, oh god. Yeah, it looks like someone had an aneurysm when I mentioned the strongest and most brainless shotgun in Fortnite history. Yeah, folks, Epic had finally nerfed the Frenzy Auto. And decided to throw in a new shotgun that was just the Frenzy, but better. Great job, Epic! Why are you like this? I should mention that this shotgun also never got balanced throughout the rest of the chapter, and it stayed in the game for the rest of it, so keep that in mind. This is a big problem of mine moving forward, so whenever I'm talking about these next few seasons, just know that the Gatekeeper is on my list of epic what the fuck please fix. But besides this one fumble, I was okay with the loophole. Sure, I would have loved to have some more Greek weapons earlier in the season, though I bet Epic is just waiting to release them in a big mid-season update, and maybe even they would have a mini-pass based on a couple of the gods. I was eagerly waiting for the day the gods' items all got leaked. But let me tell you something, folks. Something got leaked, but it was the most disappointing moment of the chapter. It's common courtesy that in every new battle pass and every new season of Fortnite, Epic will throw in one character or one thing from a separate series. Whether that be someone like Doom Guy, Rick from Rick and Morty,
I'm cranking fucking 90s.
or P. Diddy. It's expected that we get someone from some random series or media. Though thanks to the theme being Greek mythology, everybody was praying that no collab skins had creeped their way into the battle pass. And as trailers were leaked, it seemed like there was none. At least until Epic finally officially released the trailer and Korra was the collab skin.
I can't take this shit no more, man.
So cool. I'm personally not a fan of the series. I've never watched Avatar or The Legend of Korra, though I know people were excited. As Korra's update was finally released, it was revealed that we were getting a full Avatar collab. And we got everything. Skins, landmarks, and a mini battle pass. But the worst part, we got weapons too. Now I know this sounds weird coming from me. I like the goofier things in Fortnite. So when you add all these types of elemental bending where you could do stuff like throw rocks at people's forehead,
Try me, bitch.
and kick some ass with fire ninjutsu, it sounds great, right? Well, unfortunately folks, it would have been great, and I would possibly be singing a completely different tune right now about this season if they just did one thing. Kept the Greek items and add more after the Chains of Hate. As when the Avatar update was released, we lost all 3 Greek items for a third of the season, and wouldn't see any other items like them for the rest. I'm sorry, but Epic. I'm not talking to the developers. They work hard for every update and they try to make it the best for us as a player. So to anybody who works for Epic, if they are seeing this video, just know this is not a personal attack. And I think this season overall content-wise was still good. But how did they fuck up this bad? It's a Greek season. How do you add these 3 cool as hell items just to remove them and collab with Avatar for almost a month? Season 2 lasted 77 days, and the Avatar collab was around for 21 of those days, taking up about a third of the season. Don't get me wrong, I have to say this again, the mythics were cool, and I have to say, the devs, again, they worked really hard, and I can tell they tried to make this update amazing. But when you have a season with such a cool premise like Greek mythology, and begin to give us items based on the gods and myths from said mythology, and then you decide to do a 180, rip it all away from us, and make greedy executives more money because obviously, you know, the Avatar stuff's all in our face. It's like dangling keys. Buy the Aang skin. Well, buy the mini pass to get Aang and then buy the Zuko skin. I think it's fair to say that I felt robbed. I know I just got really loud and very angry there, and I'm very sorry. But this was probably the Fortnite season I was the most excited for about this chapter. This, like Greek mythology as a whole, if you're wondering why it's so important to me, it was the first thing in school that I saw that really made me interested in learning and wanting to teach. So it has a very special place in my heart, and to see the Fortnite season that I've been waiting for so long, I have literally been hoping and praying for this season to come out, this theme to finally happen. I was so excited. This was probably the Fortnite season I was the most excited about since maybe Chapter 3 Season 1, but I played it the least. Thanks to the mostly recycled content and the shameless cash grab that was the Avatar collab, this could have been one of Fortnite's best seasons in a long time, especially if they added more Greek-themed items and they really played into the idea of the gods being, very important in this season. And it could have been a great defense for Chapter 5 as a whole. With a concept that people have been waiting for, like myself, for literal years, it was hard not to get excited, only to have the rug be pulled from right under our feet. And it's sad to say, but I feel most people are going to look back on the season negatively. When you think about it as this collab was here just to make some more gritty execs money, it hurts. Of course, I understand that it wasn't only that, as they did want to include these new weapons, and the devs did take time to make these as fun as possible. I can't say that this season wasn't a fumble, thanks to both the Avatar collab and the lazy re-edition of some old weapons. This season really, really hurts. It stings. This part right here stings the most for me personally, but we can't talk about this anymore. I already got negative enough, and I think we still have to talk about, some of Chapter 5's best. I have to say, Season 2 gave me a lot of hope for both medallions and weapon mods, while introducing a brand new mechanic exclusive to the Underworld. So why don't we start with the one I was most hopeful for? Weapon mods. Epic released 2 new mods for your weapons, and a ton were leaked. It looked like that we were going to finally see some new mods be added to the game, maybe during updates. But unfortunately, with hindsight in mind, all of those mods that were leaked got scrapped, and this was the last time that Epic would change mods in any meaningful way for the entire chapter. Yeah, they ended on the first day of Chapter 2 Season 2. Really sad to see, because I think that mods could have been super cool and super fun if Epic took it in a more Fortnite-y spin. Maybe combining augments with them, or maybe bringing back that side grading thing I mentioned before and that Reddit thing I showed. I think that they could have done it so much better, and it's really sad to see weapon mods most likely be erased in Chapter 6. Again, I don't know, because obviously I'm not recording this as Chapter 6 is released, but I think it's fair to say that, yeah, weapon mods are not going to come back. But mod benches themselves were no longer located in vaults. Done with that tangent, they were no longer guarded by bosses, but instead they were moved to bunkers that would just open after the second circle closed, allowing players to get some extra loot from the vaults and mod their weapons. However, the problem with the system is really obvious, and I don't understand how Epic let this slide. Thanks to how these bunkers are structured, if you enter, you only got that one exit that you came from. So you have to either, 1, get lucky enough that nobody wants to mod their weapons, which is most likely not going to happen, or 2, as the person that is going to arrive after you finally shows up, you go sit in a corner holding an angle with your shotty, waiting for them to drop down, and of course you get the jump on them and most likely kill them, or 3, both players know about each other and one just sits outside the bunker while the other player sits inside the bunker, now forced to watch and just wait for that player to leave, drop in, or get third-partied. This system is just worse than last season entirely. I feel like it would have been better if instead, of making specific bunkers to mod your weapons, POIs with lower amounts of loot ended up getting the mod benches instead, adding a bit of a pro and con that you may be getting less loot, but these guns have the attachments that you like. It's your weapons after all, so they're your attachments because you go somewhere with less loot. It's a really simple idea that honestly I'm surprised Epic didn't introduce. Though hey, enough about weapon mods. It's time for Woo! Luckily, medallions have been reworked from the ground up. While yes, only one player on the map can have each medallion at a time as they're still held by the bosses, I still think reality augments are a much better system, by the way. Medallions no longer just apply shield regeneration. With the launch of Season 2, each medallion had been given a unique ability that relates to the boss in some way. For example, Zeus allowed you to move faster and jump higher. Lightning travels fast, goes far. Ares makes your weapons deal 5% more damage, based on the God of War. By the way, this is criminal in all the wrong ways. You couldn't have made it 20% so it actually felt like a threat. But then Hades allowed you to siphon health off of killed players, And Cerberus introduces the last of the new mechanics this season. Oh well, the only new mechanic, really.
You wanna see me do it again?
Whenever you enter the underworld's turquoise water, some little skulls will hover around you until you double jump, dashing in whatever direction you are aiming towards. Cerberus's medallion allows you to constantly regenerate dashes, making this by far the best medallion in the game, and I'll give you a little hint, medallions don't get stronger than this. We peaked right here. This was like the peak of medallions and their usefulness. It was crazy. The dashes themselves, though, are literally the best addition to Fortnite in a while, allowing you to speed up the early game and just move around the underworld more efficiently. And when combined with some other movement mechanics, these 3 dashes would take you far. However, the new and updated mechanics may have given me hope for the future of Chapter 5, though as a whole, some parts of the season were lacking. And I want to real quick do a little wrap up and talk about everything that I think Season 2 really just kind of mishandled. Chapter 5 Season 2 feels like missed potential. I think it's fair to say that if this season didn't get caught in the crossfire of being in Chapter 5 as a whole, the lazy re-additions of old weapons, and the Avatar collaboration, it could have been the best season of the chapter. Though, with the state that it released in, it's not surprising to see so many people begin to finally speak their minds about this chapter in Season 2. I know I'm biased when it comes to a season based on Greek mythology, because I'm a huge nerd when it comes to stuff like this. But when this season was given the chance to improve on so many Season 1's issues, it fumbled. Again, and again, and again. There are several factors why Season 2 fumbled. I already mentioned a couple, but hey, why don't we list them all real quick, just rapid fire? So, starting with, the art design still feels lifeless for most of the map. Bullet travel is still the worst mechanic ever introduced to the game. They somehow got away with adding the least skilled shotgun in Fortnite history without ever balancing or adjusting it. By the way, this is for the entire chapter, not just this season. I'm very upset about that. The loophole by itself was lazy and lacking much new. The Avatar collaboration replaced the season theme for a third of the season, and the mod bench rework promoted toxic and infuriating playstyles that permeated for the rest of the chapter, and really made mods feel like a just kind of side thing that said, oh, well, they're in the game now, have fun. Okay, I think that's everything. I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but when you really take the issues into perspective, you can see why Season 2 really missed that mark that I was really hoping for it to hit. But as the season closed, we got another event. This was the first one that I actually missed just because I didn't know about it and I didn't really care about it. But it actually looked a lot cooler, and it was just super nice to see, an event kind of step up from Chapter 5 Season 1's. However, everybody was ready for change. Myths and Mortals finally ended as the island was drowned in sand and overrun by wastelanders. You were taken into the most divisive season ever. Chapter 5 Season 3, Wrecked.